Yeah, you said some things in the video that I thought I could debate Destiny about this, and I feel like I know more than him. Contrary to what you said, I think Ye is crazy, and I think it's the pretense that he isn't that is kind of rotting people's brains and kind of poisoning discourse at the moment.
I've heard schizophrenic people do this, but I don't know if Ye does this.
Go on.
Like, here's how I would imagine. I'll try to do an example of a schizophrenic person doing it.
Candace Owens, I hate the way she steps around it. She's so clever. Like,
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So basically, I've seen her in interviews, and she does this. So she was asked. Sick. Yeah, I'm good, man. What you saying?
What am I saying?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying anything right now.
Oh, sorry, dude. That means are you okay?
Wait, where are you from again?
I'm from England.
What are you saying means how are you doing?
Yeah, so like, if you see someone on the street, you're like, yes, G, what you saying? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm having a pretty good day, man. I've been chilling.
How fucking weird. Okay.
Well, I guess so. I guess if no one's like put it to you like that.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Now you've explained. Yeah. Now you said it's weird. It does. Sometimes I greet my colleagues like that, and it does bug some of them out.
Yeah,
it's probably
quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a me thing. You're right.
It is. A defect.
But yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. What's up?
Yeah. So basically, I was watching your videos on Ye, and
yeah, that guy, yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about him personally.
Yeah.
I suppose he's on everyone's collective minds at the moment, isn't he?
Indeed.
But yeah, you said some things in the video that I thought I could debate Destiny about this, and I feel like I know more than him.
Oh yeah, go for it, dude.
Sick. Okay. So basically, in that video, the one with Lex Fridman, who actually did a really good job interviewing Ye, I thought. You were watching that, and then I think you said something along the lines of, he's prying into it, and like, if you actually listen to what Ye is saying, you actually get a lot of sense out of it. And
for some of
the
the
problem
things,
is when, yeah.
But I said that in the beginning of the interview, and man, he went off the rails a little bit, but yeah.
I was about to say, like, when I was wondering this, like, maybe by the end of it, whether your opinion might have shifted, and therefore not. But
yeah, in the beginning,
so
there's like a lot of the stuff he says, I can hear where it's coming from, and it frustrates me that nobody ever engages him on any of it. But yeah.
Yeah, so that's another part of like my disagreement with you, in fact. Okay. I think if someone were to actually engage in the most perfect of perfect ways, it would not lead to a productive conversation. And there's an underlying truth, I feel, that is, at the moment, I feel like, so you know he has bipolar?
I guess, yeah. Or was diagnosed bipolar, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like what we're seeing at the moment is Ye in a high phase of his illness.
A mania? Yeah, maybe. It's hard to know 100%, but yeah.
And when you're in that phase, basically, there's just a lot of symptoms I'm seeing where he actually fundamentally couldn't, even if you were to engage him on all his points in the nicest of ways and the most on his level of ways, which I actually thought Ye did a really good job of, I don't think he would be able to come back and like keep the conversation in his head. My main argument is this. Contrary to what you said, I think Ye is crazy, and I think it's the pretense that he isn't that is kind of rotting people's brains and kind of poisoning discourse at the moment.
Huh. I guess the problem is that he says a lot of things that like a lot of people will like. It's not like he's not saying shit I've never heard before.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's lots of sentences in there, right? And each individual sentence is fine. But there's not actually, do you know what I mean? It's not actually a Here's what I think he has. There's something in bipolar called flight of ideas. Have you heard of this?
Flight of ideas?
Yeah, flight of ideas.
No, I've not heard of this.
So this is a common symptom of bipolar disorder where basically you there's something in everyone's brains that's called, it's either a singular semantic network or we all have multiple semantic networks. And basically it's the part of your brain that connects concepts together, right? So how knowledge is formed. So if your mate says to you, yo, I've just listened to an amazing record, like your semantic network is what allows you to hear that word record and think, oh yeah, record, like music record, like a vinyl, and like it's music, here's all my favorite artists that I like, and I know these are the artists that my friend likes, and here's the common music that we share together. And in a millisecond your brain is processing all that information and stringing it all together, and that's just from hearing one word in a sentence, right? That's like, you know, you've that's how it works. And flight of ideas is something that so both bipolar and schizophrenia have it, which are actually two illnesses that are a lot closer together than people think. There's quite a lot of overlap between the symptoms.
Schizophrenia and bipolar? Oh yeah, I've had a lot of psychology people have emailed me that are very mad at stuff I've said.
I saw also. That was what made me think.
Yeah, because apparently for bipolar, there are like a lot of, it's hard to keep track of anything like psychosis or psychotic, or there's like a lot of people use these terms in different ways, but apparently bipolar can have a lot of overlap with like schizophrenia in terms of like actually having like psychotic breakdowns and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you've totally learned all this stuff in the intermediary period, from when you did that video, but essentially there's so when you've got flight of ideas, it means that your semantic networks, i.e. the parts of your brain that connect these concepts together, it's theorized that it's overactivated, right? So in a situation where someone has bipolar, their friend says to them, I've just listened to like this amazing record, and then suddenly that in this person's mind who's got mania and flight of ideas, it's like record, like world record, like Usain Bolt.
Oh yeah. I've heard people do this before in emails to me and in other conversations I've watched with actual schizophrenic people where they'll like say something and then like the word is like similar to another word and they just I would describe it as like Markov chaining kind of, but it's like people will kind of like talk and the sentences like syntactically they all work, but it's just very weird, right? Like yesterday, I saw my friend and he was walking across the street to go to the store. And I think that it's important that we store inside of our head the knowledge that we need in order to take over. Like, it's like this kind of like, where if you listen to it, like it all makes sense grammatically, syntactically, but the semantics are indecipherable. Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So I think it opens up like lots of avenues in your brain when you hear one particular word or the end of a sentence.
Yeah, well, that's true. Oh my God, it's so irresponsible. No, it's not, because I'm not an actual psychologist, so fuck you if you take me too seriously. I've heard schizophrenic people do this, but I don't know if Ye does this.
Go on.
Like, here's how I would imagine. I'll try to do an example of a schizophrenic person doing it, or what I perceive as schizophrenic, and then an example of Kanye West doing this, okay? So a schizophrenic person might say something like, I think that Jewish people are running the world, and we need to run marathons and races in order to make sure that we're as healthy as possible. And possibilities are the most important thing that we can ever keep in mind in our life, because that's what makes things possible. And possibilities are the most important thing in life, and life is so precious. Like, that might be like a schizophrenic sentence. Whereas Ye would say something like, I think Jewish people are running the world and they're in charge of all these industries, like in the NBA and in my record label, and I see Jewish people everywhere that are running all this stuff. And I've been like, it reminds me of slavery, like how we were enslaved by everybody. Like, he'll connect these concepts, but I think he's got like, it makes sense. They're just like, they're very semantically far from each other, but it's not just like random, like I feel like a schizophrenic's thoughts are. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but I think there's incremental degrees.
Okay, there might be. I don't know. I don't know that my depth of knowledge is like strained already, or I don't even know.
Like, so I think basically there was a time when Ye was at his worst, which was so TMZ interview. I don't know if you've seen that. And then also he was in the Oval Office with Trump.
Sure.
And at those points, that was like, a peak of his
I will say, you said something that was very true, that I said in the beginning, I think in my first 20 minutes of analyzing Ye talking to Lex, where I was like, yeah, I think blah, blah, blah. Towards the end, it definitely becomes increasingly harder to follow. I'll say that to be as polite as possible. Yeah, it becomes more like, I'm actually starting to wonder a little bit. In the beginning, I see what you're doing. Your thoughts are just very disorganized. But towards the end, it's like, I'm not as sure now. Now it feels like there's more stuff going on. Yeah.
I've got a little bit of this interview that I've got written down. I can explain to you. I think this is an example of it. Again, not a psychologist, but what are we here for if not to internet psychologize?
True.
It's fun, isn't it? So basically, they're having a conversation where Lex opens up and he's like, Steve Jobs. So do you put Steve above the Elons of this world? I think Ye brought Steve Jobs up into the conversation, right? So Lex is feeding off that, and he's like asking Ye, do you see yourself as similar to Steve Jobs? And then Ye immediately goes off on this trail where he's like, Steve Jobs is a cultural engineer, like the people who run the emotions of the world, like they're like social engineers. So straight away, we're off the actual question. The next sentence, social engineering is so important, like city design. There's a fancy word for that. Suddenly we're talking about civil engineering and building cities. Next sentence he says, but I was in Oxnard last night to see Anthony Jeselnik. Oxnard is like a city in California. And it's like, so if you look at that quote and you read it from like the beginning to where Ye ends up at like porn and penis sizes, right? And this is like with no interjection from Lex at all. Like he's just off on that. And I think, I don't know how else to, I know what you mean, because it's, let's say the example you gave, it was every like, what, 5 to 10 words? Whereas Ye, it's like maybe every 20 words or something, but it's still like very, very crazy jumping around.
It is, yeah. But I mean, it's hard, obviously, the difference between like disorganized thought process versus actually like schizophrenic or schizoaffective or,
but I think that's it's all on a scale is the thing, because like I'll give you an example. So this was like my mum got bipolar, or like it triggered off like from 2016, and during the 2016 phase, you could like, she was kind of fine, you could talk to her like a completely normal person, but she had a lot of like theories about things. So speech patterns were a bit like effed. Like she couldn't really follow threads, but she could meet someone in the street and very well come across as like a normal speaking person for at least the first, do you know what I mean? Like that opening 2 minutes of conversation, she would seem fine. But then she had like a way worse one in 2021. And at that point, it was like you described, but way worse. She was like, doctors come to see me and people in coats and put a coat of paint on the wall, and it was like, it was literally gotcha. Have you ever done LSD, like acid?
Yes, LSD on mushrooms.
So have you ever, that feeling when I don't know if this is like happens to everyone or whether this was like a specific one to me, but where you've got a sentence in your head and then you're like, I'll say this to the group, and then as you're saying the sentence, it's like tumbling out of your brain, and by the time you've said the first 3 words of it, you've lost the rest of it and you can't say
This happens to me a lot when I get high. I'll start speaking and then at the end of the sentence I'll forget where it started and I just kind of go on and on. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's the closest thing I can describe it to, was what she was like. It was like each new sentence was a new world, where there was no memory of like the last 10 seconds or the last, do you know what I mean, or anything that had happened. And yeah, so I think one thing like that's difficult about Kanye is like people say, I know that sounds very horrible to say Kanye is crazy, but I'm more saying it as a rebuttal to the people who's like, he's not crazy, because
I don't know if that makes it any better, but okay. Well, I know what you mean.
No, because so it's more in the sense that, like the reason not to use that word for people, especially if they've got like a thought disorder, is because it's insensitive, right? It's not a very nice thing to say.
Yeah, of course.
But when people are saying Ye's not crazy. He's like, you know,
Whoa,
he's not
he's
crazy.
red pilled. Yeah.
What? Yeah, what they're not saying. I'm not using that word because it's culturally insensitive. What they're saying is,
He's right.
Here's a guy speaking divine prophecy about the world, and if you simply channel in to the things he says, you can unravel it, and it's actually way more intelligent than anything that like any professor could tell you at a university. And it's like that. I think that is the. I don't know.
It's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about like the online world and like platforms that these celebrities are given on podcasts, which I think contributes towards that illusion, because essentially if someone's in a well-lit studio and they're already an eccentric celebrity, you almost expect a bit of a performance. So what Ye does sort of plays into the performance. But I'm like, you know, I'm watching it and I'm just thinking, this is like, you know, we are essentially, by saying that there's some hidden logic to what he's saying, we're essentially giving license to whatever paranoias he currently has in his state to find massive amounts of people. And again, my argument is not that he shouldn't be given a platform, but that people should stop saying that there's sense in what he says.
He's not a divine prophet. He like actually thinks he's a divine it's not like a metaphor. He really truly does believe this. Yeah, which is not good,
and this is the other part. So like so yeah, I kind of knew this first point of contention would waddle into the second. So here we go. So it was the thing that you've already said, like you got loads of messages about that. Basically, having psychosis is not such a distinct thing from bipolar, and in fact, it's very common.
Yeah.
But so my experience with the bipolar delusions, they're not like hallucinations. Like it's not like you see like, oh my god.
Like a delusion of grandeur isn't going to be that you see scientists lurking around every corner, but you might have the distinct feeling or awareness of them being after you, and then you'll start to yeah.
So my experience of it was real life things. So you see real life. So you see real stuff. You see the same stuff as every other person, but then your brain interprets it in a completely stupid way.
Have you done like a lot of mushrooms, LSD and all that?
Mate, in the UK, you can go to the woods and pick magic mushrooms.
Okay, based. The best example that I can think of for this, it was so mindfucking me, is when I did a lot of mushrooms, and when I was on mushrooms, I had a room full of people that were trying to convince me that like everything in my entire life was fake. And it was crazy because coming out of it, I was like, oh my God, like I had like full on like auditory visual hallucinations. It was crazy. But I recorded it because I was curious and I wanted to watch it back. And when I watched it back, I realized, oh no, they actually did say all those things. But at the time, I was interpreting it so much differently. So like, for instance, when I was really high, I'm talking to these people, and I feel like everything is so fake because it was the first time I'd ever done mushrooms, and obviously it was a mind-blowing fucking experience. And this guy next to me is like, he starts talking, and he's like, "Isn't it kind of weird that none of us knew each other, and in one day we met up, and now we're doing a bunch of crazy drugs?" And the way that he was saying it was like, "Yeah, fuck, it doesn't make any sense. Like none of this makes sense. Everything is so fucking weird and contrived, and it's." This can't be real. And everybody was like saying stuff like that to reinforce that. But then when I watched it back afterwards as a sober person, like he's just like, isn't it kind of funny that like we all just kind of like met, we're doing mushrooms? I'm like, holy shit. He did say all those things, but it was nowhere near as like malevolent as I was interpreting it when I was on my fucking trip. You know? Yeah. So it's like that type of feeling. Yeah. But it sounds stupid to say this, and drugs really made me aware of this. It sounds dumb to say it because you're not used to, I think when you're sober, or at least for me, you're not aware that you have like a mood or a vibe or like this context for all of your thoughts. You think you kind of think things and they're there. And it's very weird once you've had those feelings of like paranoia where you can truly realize like there is something going on underneath that really influences how I'm perceiving all of these thoughts. So if you've never truly experienced it, it's hard to say like, oh, well, what do you mean? Like you have a feeling of paranoia or delusion? Like you either think the thoughts or you don't. And it's like, no, like the way that you think the thoughts is like, can be heavily determined by whatever's going on in your brain. Yeah. But
yeah, I think to be honest, my experiences that I've had on like shrooms and acid, it's been so far apart from real. So both times have been with really close friends and my now wife. So it's almost like this is the way I like to enjoy it. Like no one's talking, everyone like shuts up, and you're just enjoying the experience. Like if there's any like people in the mix who I don't know very well, I hate it because I'm like, so you're already paranoid as hell because like all this shit's going on. and then this is a big part of it. You know, when you're around a new person, again, in real life, we all have social anxiety to a degree where we kind of care
I don't,
an awful lot about that new person. You do not. You're a psychopath. I care loads. Like, I'll be telling like loads of jokes, trying to get whoever the newest person in the group is. Or like, say we're at like a gathering or a party, I'll identify some new person that's been brought along, and I'll be like, right, my aim is to bond with this guy and try and make him think I'm like the funniest guy in the group. And that, you know, so that obviously that social anxiety that you have, but obviously it's not a bad thing when, you know, you're sober, because it's kind of a nice thing. It means you're more open and you're more like engaged with people. But as soon as you've taken something, it's like, it's that just straight away escalates into paranoia. Like, I bet that guy hates me. Oh my god, why is he here? Who's brought him here? And, you know, all that stuff. So yeah, I have massive control of the environment whenever I'm doing anything like that. But yeah, no, what I was gonna say was on bipolar terms, then this is a really good example of, I think, the kind of delusions that occur. So we were in a pub, and there was like a pub drunk. So these in every UK pub, you'll get like some dude that sits near the bar, and he's there like all day, and he's like, and like everyone sort of ignores him. He came up to like table that like me and my family were sat on, and started being like quite aggressive. And this was at a time when my mum was like ill, so it's a very bad time for this to occur.
Okay.
And I sort of did this thing where like I put my arm around him. I was like, all right, mate, all right, time to get off that. And you know, in that sort of like, I'm being buddy-ish with you, but I'm also putting my arm around
it's like
you.
that. Hey, dude, like it's time to go, right? Like, don't you guys know what to be? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
What you mean. Yeah.
And I'm kind of quite forcefully smiling at him, but picking him up and putting him out the way, like putting him to the side. I say, right, let's go back over to the bar, mate. You know, that was what I was doing. Came out of that situation, and my mum was like, why did you egg that guy on to be so rude to me? And I was just like, what? And she's like, he was verbally assaulting me, and you put your arm around him, and you wanted him to do it. And I was like, so that's a great example. It's like, so she remembers the fundamental thing, because all that did happen. I did put my arm around him, but she's completely like scrambled the memory so that it all fits into this like horrible conspiracy view of the situation, and puts me as her enemy, like in that situation, you know? Yeah.
I'm sorry, because you bring up the words. Have you read a lot on the differences between like semantics and syntax?
So I don't think I've read up a lot on it, but I know.
Or just having like a basic. Yeah. I haven't read up on anything because I'm a Wikipedia warrior. But it's very interesting how I've kind of gotten into this more recently over like stuff related to language, and in the past. Just a little bit about like differences between like how we what it means to understand something. It's very interesting how complicated and sophisticated and convoluted our minds are when it comes to like hearing a word and all of a sudden having like this massive semantic comprehension of all of the things surrounding that topic. And there's a lot of stuff that we kind of take for granted. And mentally ill people or people that have issues with that semantic process, I think really show us like how complicated our semantic understanding of the world is, which is just very, very, very interesting to me, you know?
It's really true. Have you you listened to any of Noam Chomsky's like earlier lectures about language?
No, I have not. I've only read a little bit by some loser called Cyril or something, but.
Oh, right. So basically like, I don't know enough about this theory to explain it to you properly, but I can give you the vague idea. So linguists for a long time had all these different theories about how humans learned language, and I think the focus was mainly on nurture being a main way, like the way that like we listened out and we, you know, as babies kind of understood stuff. Noam Chomsky had like a theory about humans having an innate grammar, which means that, you know, it's not actually anything that's learned. It's that humans have an innate grammar somewhere in our brain that makes us different from every other animal.
Yes.
And essentially the focus that he put was on it being completely genetic. And I think every linguistic study that's happened since then has proven his theory correct.
Yeah. There's like some like a priori programming that human brains have. It's not to, it sounds like I'm kind of begging the question when I argue against vegans a lot, but like humans truly do have a unique understanding of language and the concepts around language that set our understanding of the world apart from like every other animal. Like no other animals can use language the way we do. It truly is like the gift to the human mind. The ability to like understand like negatives, like something isn't something, like, or something's not there. Like I think even that thought I think is incomprehensible to a lot of animals. The ability to describe things in other times and places. There's a whole bunch of like crazy things in our mind that we're able to do with language that, it seems to just be kind of like granted to us by virtue of having a human brain. We can do these things, you know? Yeah.
And like, so there was a really good example that illustrates it. So this sentence, right? She's got a book out in every store. Now think about that. Like, she's got a book. So she's got a book. She's holding it. So you'd understand that if you think about it in a breakdown form. She's holding a book in her hand, right? She's got a book. It's one book. She's got a book out in every store. Suddenly, with that added context, you understand that she has written a book, gone to a publisher, got it printed, got it distributed, and that you can find it now in all the stores that surround you. And it's this. Do you know what I mean? With those words added on, suddenly she's got a book out in every store. A singular noun to a human mind now means lots of them everywhere in all the shops around you. That's one of the examples that Chomsky gave in one of those early lectures that I thought, yeah, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, so yeah, I think it's true. This, like, when people have, I think they call it thought disorders. Like, these are the illnesses that disrupt your cognitive like processes. And you see that it's when you see those processes break down that you realize how complex it all is. So the next yay point is on the topic of delusions. So I think this is I think he has big delusions too. It gets really hard to measure when it's a celebrity because celebrities are eccentric. They hype themselves up, especially in like rap music. And when they say I'm gonna rule the world, you don't mean that as like you think you're gonna take over the world and rule it.
Kind of ironically enough, when I had issues like discerning reality from non-reality after like big mushroom trips, it's really hard being like a mini celebrity because it's hard because like some of the things that normal people might have as delusions, they're actually true for you.
It's
so like
true,
I remember
everyone's
like
watching you.
Yeah. Like I remember after having, sometimes I'd have a big panic attack and I'd be like very disassociated, just staring at a wall, kind of like thinking of like my life. And it's very hard to sort through things because it's like enough people watch me that I've made enough money to like buy a house and not have to work normal work. Like these things all seem kind of delusional, right? Like those are all really fantastic things. And it can be really hard to sort out the delusion from like, no, this is actually true, when you actually do have a lot of like exceptional things going on in your life. And I imagine for Kanye West, it's probably like that times a million, right? Because he truly is an exceptional, he's like the richest black man alive, like one of the most influential artists alive, like arguably the most popular musician. Yeah, like it's, so how do you begin to tell him like, bro, you're delusional about some things, but in other ways you really are like God Emperor Kanye West, you know? Like, yeah.
Well, this is really, really difficult. Like, even for me, who's excellent at diagnosing people with bipolar through the internet. Basically, with him, the delusions, I see them as being this talk about I have ideas that can make the human existence within 100 years better. Like, I am the visionary. I can end war with my ideas. I am fighting a battle in spiritual form, and God has sent me to the planet to do this. I see those as delusions because I don't hear it as metaphorical when he's saying those things. I hear it as literal. And you can, so for example, you could like great at like, you know, amazing producer, visionary guy in that sense, definitely. But when you've made like all your money off like music and shoes, you're not like a religious deity.
Maybe, but it's hard because like he's got like, you know, like Jesus Walks and shit, right? He did want to talk about religion and stuff in some of his early songs, and he did avoid like some of the gangster rap shit. So maybe he does feel like he had some higher calling or something. You know, I don't know.
He's saying his ideas can end wars, and then if you look at his idea, it's like a house that's got a hole in the roof, and it's a constant stream of water running through the building.
Sure.
And there's like a wet room and a dry room. Like that's. Do Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I see these as like again, it's really hard to tell, but I see them as like delusions. Top 5 writers in human existence.
I know, but he's like one of the best-selling artists of all time, and part of that is writing songs, right? And lyrics.
But he's not even one of the top 5 lyricists of the current rap generation.
Might think he is. Damn.
We got so many like MF Doom, Kendrick. I'd put Danny Brown above Kanye West. Like, I don't know. I feel like he should know that, right?
Maybe will it? I don't know. It's hard. I imagine
I think his skills are as a like producer, and I think even like hardcore Ye fans would.
Oh my god!
It's so true. Like even hardcore Ye fans would have to admit, like the thing that makes Kanye brilliant is that he pulls in these like esoteric, under the radar producers and sounds as they break, and therefore you listen to every Ye album from like College Dropout to Yeezus to Donda, and he sounds with the time at all points in his career. Like unlike if you look at Eminem or Jay-Z, their music is very still evocative of the music they came up on. Kanye has managed to move forward with it, and that is what makes him brilliant. But his bars are like serviceable. They're not. Do you know what I mean? You're like, you listen to Ye's bars and you're like, that suits the track and that's fine. But he's not like doing this like, this wordsmithery that we hear from Kendrick. Like Ye, does he
I'm gonna be honest, I might just have shitty taste. I'd always heard and a lot of people have said as much, that like before Kanye's first album, that a lot of his raps were super whack. Like that was like honest. And even Kanye himself would say, right, when he talks about his starting out on Last Call, he talks about how like a lot of his early raps were super whack or whatever. But I feel like he's a decent writer. Like I feel like I think more than serviceable for his first 3 albums. I would say more than serviceable.
Okay, yeah, I'll say good.
Yeah,
I'll say he's good.
Maybe not Kendrick Lamar, sure, but like, yeah, I think.
But that's what I mean. He's like, I think he's good at rap, but like the actual
thing were his songs, for sure, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people could have written Kanye West lyrics. Nobody else could have produced Jesus Walks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or done like 808s or whatever, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. 808s, that's a point of. People say that was like what started autotune trap, and I just really don't agree.
No, Akon and
Future, right? Future
was wait, no, who were the 2 really big ones? It was Akon and it was the other guy.
Oh, Lil Wayne. Wayne.
Fuck, T-Pain. Akon and T-Pain, I think, were the big ones for singing. Yeah, those guys were huge. And then other people started to jump on. I want to say those 2, I think, were the ones that like really pushed it early on. They got huge doing autotune, and then everybody started to jump on it afterwards. But
it's more like the artists that I see who are like, so when trap guys started doing autotune, it wasn't like they were making like 80s influenced synth tunes like 808s and Heartbreak, and neither were they making like R&B like T-Pain. They were making like trap but with autotune, and that's what Future, in my opinion, did that. Or if you could push back to like Lil Wayne doing like Lollipop and tunes like that the people that came up and did autotune trap, they were more influenced by them than any of these like other people in the autotune world,
Okay, if you say so. I don't have like the extensive like rap history to argue with you or agree with you or whatever, so I'll just say yeah, if you say so. Yeah.
W for Timbah on toast. Sick.
Yeah,
we like to see it. We love to see it. Yeah, I think that's it basically. I think I see I see a real problem with pitching Ye as this like misunderstood genius when he talks. I think what we're seeing now is a manic, not manic episode, but like a hypermanic episode. And I think.
Oh, dude, do you remember his like? If you're making a video on this, you got to include. Do you remember his tweets where he was begging Zuckerberg for money?
What? I didn't even hear about this.
Oh, you don't remember these? It was several years ago. But yeah, he was tweeting out these like, I'm broke, Zuckerberg, I need your money so that I can make my dream come true or some shit. Oh, fuck. You should go back and look up all those. That was clearly like, this dude is like having a breakdown. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what and you can see the times when it happens. In Candace Owens, I hate the way she steps around it. She's so clever. Like.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So basically, I've seen her in interviews and she does this. So she was asked. So after that Ye appearance at the Oval Office with Trump, she was on Fox and Friends, it's obviously not a combative interview by any stretch, but she was asked like, well, what would you say to people who, they're looking at this and they're thinking, that 10-minute monologue by Ye was a little bit crazy. And Candace is like, the way she responds, it's like, I smell people's fear of his message. He is like, the atmosphere in that room was happy and euphoric, and we as the Conservative Party are moving forward and bringing on more. And it's like, do you know what I mean? The whole question of Ye's illness, she so adeptly sidesteps it and just gets right back on message. And she must seeing Ye in an interview situation where it's a podcast and you're a viewer watching from home, as I say, it's easy to get taken in by the atmosphere of that and your expectations of what an eccentric artist is.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get someone like Ye one-on-one, so Candace has definitely been in this situation with him in the last month. One-on-one, it's when you try to have normal conversations with them, like, okay, so how's your day going? And then they'll just spin off on some random cycle. And you're like, oh, okay, so what's the plan for this? Spin off on some random cycle. You very quickly know. You're like, okay, they can't follow the thread of these conversations. So it would be more obvious to Candace Owens than to anyone else.
Yeah,
and
but
yes,
the sad thing for Ye is like he lives a life where everybody around him is just trying to use him for their different projects. Like Candace Owens doesn't give a fuck about Kanye West, but she knows that he's like a useful tool for her like political conservative bullshit. As people are trying to like make republicanism cool and shit, and now you've got Kanye West, arguably the coolest black guy ever, who like is wearing White Lives Matter shirts and all this shit. So
yeah, I just want someone to like next time they're in an interview with Candace Owens, and she's like, I love his music. He's so good.
Name 2.
For them to say, name the songs of Donda. Name 10 of them.
Damn. Okay, hold on. Let's reach out. I don't know if I can name 10. No, I probably can't.
No, I can't name. But
yeah, but at least be like, what do you like?
Mate.
Yeah, what do you like about it?
If he was my best mate,
That's true.
If he was my best mate, I'd listen to his projects. Like, oh my god, like whenever one of my producer mates sends me like a little EP, I'm listening to that. I'm giving them feedback. I would definitely know names. And she's one of Ye's best friends, right?
Best friends, like, apparently. Yeah. That's what she said.
And Donda was one of the biggest albums of 2021, so it's like stands to reason. But I don't think she would. I think she, as you say, it's all political. Like Tucker Carlson as well, when he had Ye on, he was like,
oh, and he's just staring at him the whole time, like so excited that Ye's here to give all of his fucking conservative talking points.
People are saying that Ye is crazy, but we have found that he speaks from his heart.
Yeah.
And it's like, that doesn't rule out the mania, Like they do speak from their heart. You could go to psychiatric ward, you'll get lots of impassioned speeches about all sorts of things. But it doesn't mean that they've got like a vision for the future of America, and we don't treat them as such. And it's I basically think, obviously, I'm just like, I'm mapping a lot of my own situation onto it, which blinds me to a certain degree, doesn't it? Because using your own experiences, it makes you biased towards the things that you've seen, and you think that's going to be the same result. But when they come out of that manic phase, it's a blur, right? It's like they can remember like key events of what happened, but it almost feels like waking up from being drunk for 9 months.
Yeah.
And at that point, he's gonna be on, well, fucking lost that deal with Adidas. I've like alienated myself from X, Y, and Z people. And he can still ride on his like amazing creative prowess in music. But you know what I mean? I think that's gonna be the situation he's gonna be in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. Yeah. The Byron did a lot of the. Do you know the streamer Wreckful guy?
Wreckful. Yeah, I've heard his name. So wasn't there some tragedy around him?
Well, yeah, he killed himself. That was pretty tragic.
Right. Yeah.
He did the huge bipolar swings. It was insane. I remember there was a stream he was doing where he was like telling his girlfriend at the time and his friend that they should just like pick their whole lives up and move to Amsterdam, because he liked talking to the people in the cafes there. He's like, we just need to go to Amsterdam. Once the move, like, I'll pay for all of you. Like, let's do it or whatever. Oh, and then he proposed to her on that stream too. Like, it was yeah, it was a lot of shit going on. Yeah, but.
Yeah, big side of it is spending money you haven't got. That's like one of the key indicators. You're kind of buying parlor. I don't know, maybe that's money he has, but you spend money without thinking of the consequences of what that means for you further down the line. So they'll go on like spending sprees, and then suddenly it's like, fuck, all my money's gone.
Yeah, I've read stories for people that have like manic parents or whatever that will disappear from their lives, and then they'll come back and they'll go on a huge shopping spree and buy shit, and then they're like in trouble with debt and they have to disappear, and just like, yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like a fun time.
Yeah, and that's the thing, when you're in that low point, you're more lucid, so you come across more like a rational person. But that's when you're depressed, and there's like, there's the risk of suicidal thoughts and all that stuff. Fucking antipsychotic medications, gotta big them up. Aripiprazole, fucking sick. I think what are we on at the moment? We're on, can't remember the one we're on at the moment, but
wait, are you on antipsychotics? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I speak all with experience of looking after my mum, basically.
Oh, when you say we, you're talking about your mom.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
She's entirely back together now. She's her normal self, and people, I don't know. There's a lot of like, what's it called? Stigma about medication. It's like, oh my god, you're gonna like take it from Big Pharma and get hooked on this medication. It actually like really works to curb the swings. I think you still go up and down, but they just, when you're high, you're not
like,
as
dramatic,
like sky high, yeah. And when you're low, you can still have happy moments and stuff. But yeah, so Kanye said as well, this is like my research, that like, so in 2019, he did an interview with David Letterman, and there's a portion of that where he talks about his bipolar disorder. And he's seems very lucid to me at that point. And he said that he was off medication for 6 weeks at the point where he did that interview in 2019.
Yeah.
So, and he said in another interview, he hasn't taken medication in the last 2-3 years. So the problem is when you get to a manic point, it's really because, when you're manic, it actually feels like being on MDMA. It's like amazing. Like you experience the world in like Technicolor, and you act like a teenager, and you're really happy, and you've got loads of cool ideas. And so when someone tries to persuade you to go on medication, it's like
they're taking away your like high. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't think there's anything wrong with you. You're like, I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. So why would I take medication? No, like all that stuff. Especially now he thinks that he got diagnosed by a Jewish doctor or whatever.
Yeah, there's a whole other host of problems. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's basically all I had. I feel like this wasn't as much of a debate as I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean it's all fucked up.
Yeah, but I had an upper hand because I prepared. So yeah, more like a cozy chat.
Yeah. Do you want to tell people your channel?
Oh yeah. So safe everyone. My name is Timbah. I run a YouTube channel called timbah.on.toast. I have videos about politics and UK underground music. And yeah, we have a lot of fun over there. So you want to come check me out? I'll be doing a video about Kanye at some point. I also wanted to do it in case I said it. I got any dumb points in here, but it feels fine. I think basically I feel a bit about this video in particular. I feel like this is a very contentious topic. Usually when I do vids, I feel pretty secure and like, okay, I
think you have to be like really careful when it comes to like the diagnosing people and then talking about the mental illnesses or whatever, because you don't want to like discredit all of those types of people's thoughts, or you don't want to make people feel like if they have a certain thing, they're, stuff like that. Yeah, you got to be careful about that.
That's exactly right. And I feel like I've got like a bitterness in my mind about the people pretending
that romanticize the fuck out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. And like obviously this video is gonna be seen by people who probably do have thought disorders and whatnot.
Yeah, it sucks when you've got people that are kind of like pushing on and supporting somebody through their manic phase. Like that's very fucking annoying.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. And so with this video in particular, I feel like it's the kind of one that could go out and it's like people will talk about it like, oh fuck, this guy is really ignorant and blah blah blah. But I wrote it really quick and I need more content. So this is the way of the world.
Yeah, true.
Safe. All right. Well, it's been lovely to chat to you as always. I will catch you soon, buddy.
Yeah, have fun. Be careful, bud.
Safe, dude. In a bit.
Bye. Forrest Scott donated and said, "Hey, Destiny, Dwarf Fortress, $49.99. Maybe someday. We'll see." That's another going to be. Listen, after Factor, we're going to take a break from these games for a few months. Kanye's Naruto Shocker, $50. Kanye's lyrics were openly loving and criticizing black culture. To say that Kanye fans would say that his lyrics had no value other than attuning to the beats is undeniably something someone who knows nothing about black culture would say. Kanye's lyrics were openly loving and criticizing black culture. For his first 4 albums? Is that true? Am I What a little bit. Think of Awful. Yeah, there were like a few songs, kind of, but I felt like Kanye's music was like pretty, like, non-racial. Like, I'm thinking of songs like Slow Jams and Spaceship and like I don't. I feel like I feel like he doesn't have like. I feel like he didn't do a ton of the like black community black. But I don't know. Maybe I just didn't listen to those songs as much, like compared to all of his popular stuff. But I don't know. Slow Jams is literally an R&B / soul tribute. Yeah, but it wasn't like a place of like being critical or like a commentary on like black culture stuff. Like it was just like a cool, fun song. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Now they love Kanye. Let's put him in the front of the store. Shit like that. I guess if that's like, but I feel like that's like level 1 racism. I feel like even white people can like vibe with that now. Like, oh yeah, it's unfair when people are racist. Like, I don't know. That doesn't seem to be like very critical. Not in the same way that like, I don't know. Maybe. All Falls Down talks about materialism and black culture. Yeah, but I mean like everybody's materialistic. Is that like super unique to black culture? I don't know. Maybe I just identify as more black than white, you know, because of all the Kanye I listen to. So it didn't feel like a black culture thing to me. It just felt like my culture, you know.